In truth, hope is often forged in the aftermath of failure, for it is then that inner strength and resilience are truly awakened. Fritz Knapp, standing at the crossroads of adversity, we are often faced with two diverging paths: to let our shattered pieces define our worth, or to fiercely transubstantiate those ruins into the very nourishment that cultivates a more formidable self. Few realize that hope rarely blossoms under the radiant sun of absolute fulfillment. On the contrary, it silently strikes deep roots into the most abyssal corners of the soul, precisely when all avenues seem to seal shut, compelling us to turn inward and confront our true selves. Failure is akin to a ferocious tempest sweeping through an ancient forest. It strips away the frail, skeletal branches, carries off the withering canopies, and leaves behind a desolate void. Yet, in the wake of that violent storm, the ancient trunks that remain standing plunge their roots deeper into Mother Earth, clinging fiercely to their origins to survive. The human odyssey mirrors this very phenomenon. When the velvet-draped comforts vanish, the facade of complacency, illusion, and dependency begins to peel away. What ultimately remains is genuine metal, a virtue unexchangeable for material wealth, entirely unfound within the pages of a book, but forged exclusively through the brutal anvil of existence. Many labor under the delusion that hope is the privilege of the fortunate. In essence, this is a profound conflation of optimism and hope. Those who have never stumbled possess merely a naive optimism. Only those who have traversed the valley of suffering and yet resolutely press onward can wholly comprehend the true essence of hope. It is not the foolish belief that all things will automatically shift for the better, but rather a profound tranquility within the soul, a trust in one's own endurance, even when the path ahead remains shrouded in an impenetrable mist. Hope does not obliterate our wounds, but it empowers us to perceive our scars as a chronicle of our evolution, rather than the brand of our defeat. The more valiantly we brave the tempests, the greater our chance to unearth the latent strata of energy, long obscured by the dust of time. Much like coal, enduring crushing, abyssal pressure to emerge as a diamond, human inner strength only truly ignites when pushed to the absolute limits of endurance. With every triumphant rise from a stumble, we do not merely gather up our shattered fragments, we accrue a profound composure, unwavering courage, and contemplative wisdom. These sedimented virtues become the unyielding bedrock upon which hope continues to soar. If, at this moment, you find yourself standing amidst scattered ruins, do not hastily assume that life has turned its back on you. Perhaps this is the very silence required for life to quietly reconstruct a more formidable version of you. Remember, dawn never awakens in the broad light of day, but always breaches the horizon after the most profound, unending night. Hope, too, is not born of perfection, but is ignited in the very moment we choose to defy fate. That solitary, flickering ember will guide us through the tempestuous nights, so that one day, glancing back, we realize that failure was never the end. It was merely the genesis of an inner awakening, the overture to an odyssey of majestic ascension. You cannot swim for new horizons until you have courage to lose sight of the shore. William Faulkner. The gravitational pull of the familiar is often vastly more powerful than the distance to success. Human instinct perpetually seeks tranquility, even when that very tranquility inadvertently imprisons our yearning for freedom. We harbor a tendency to to cling to a passionless vocation, a fractured relationship, or archaic corridors of thought, simply because they offer the fleeting illusion of comfort. The sandy shore may grant serenity, yet it also confines the gaze of those who only dare to behold the boundless ocean through the coastal seafoam. Each new horizon embodies a more perfected self, lying in wait to be discovered. However, to touch it, we must be willing to barter the sanctuary of safety for the crucible of growth. The most daunting obstacle lies not within the raging swells of the deep, but in the precise, decisive moment of stepping away from the solid terra firma. The mind's defense mechanisms frequently magnify peril and diminish opportunity, sowing a fear of failure far grander than reality. Thus, countless ambitions perish not from a lack of capability, but from the absence of a single act of courage to plunge forward. Observe the way the majestic eagle learns to take flight. It cannot seek eternal refuge in its cozy nest, perched high upon a jagged precipice. At a fateful hour, it is compelled to hurl itself into the terrifying void. In those maiden heartbeats, its wings may falter, clumsy against the howling gales. Yet, it is within those tumultuous glides through the vast, open skies that its wings forge their iron strength. Had it chosen the safety of the nest to evade danger, the eagle would remain forever ignorant of its sovereign destiny to conquer the heavens. Humanity is no different. True potential is never awakened within the confines of a comfort zone, but rather surges forth amidst the most harrowing of trials. The true miracle is that with every step transcending our self-imposed boundaries, we do not merely inch closer to our coveted destination, but profoundly reconstruct the very perception of ourselves. Confidence does not magically materialize prior to action. It is the ultimate spoil of war, reaped only after we have vanquished our terrors. Courage is not the absence of fear, but the sovereign choice to march relentlessly forward. Even as the heart trembles with an anxious rhythm, every decision to cast off the familiar bow of the ship is a moment we expand the frontiers of our inner cosmos, amassing wisdom and forging an indomitable spirit. At some predestined moment, those primordial anxieties will fade into nothing more than a beautiful reminiscence along the grand odyssey we have sailed. This world is infinitely more colossal than our mere vision could ever encapsulate. Far beyond the breakers lies an ocean of novel destinies, horizons of profound enlightenment, and the promised lands of authentic elation. However, they only open their embrace to those audacious enough to depart. Let not the comfort zone morph into an invisible cage, suffocating the magnitude of your potential. Trust that within every cresting wave lies a revelation. Every tribulation serves as an elevating rung, and every courageous stride forward draws us ever closer to the legendary version of ourselves we eternally crave. Sometimes, the sole distance between a mundane existence and an extraordinary life is encapsulated in a single valiant decree to abandon the shore and set forth toward the boundless deep. Hope can be a powerful force. Maybe there's no actual magic in it, but when you know what you hope for most and hold it like a light within you, you can make things happen. Almost like magic. Laini Taylor. Magic is neither a supernatural phenomenon plummeting from the ether, nor a serendipitous gift from the fates. It is intricately distilled from the most unassuming days, when one marches tenaciously onward, even as existence relentlessly tests their endurance, and the ultimate catalyst that prevents their collapse is hope, a silent flame, yet potent enough to warm the marrow and banish the suffocating dark. Hope is not some phantasmal reverie, nor a sentimental faith that the universe will organically right itself. It is the profound capacity to locate the light, even when entombed in the most abyssal of tunnels. It is the kinetic force that catches our fall, compels us to sow new seeds in the barren soil of a ruined harvest, and breathes valor into our lungs when impenetrable fog blinds our path. Once the mind is tethered to a crystalline vision, adversities cease to be impenetrable barricades, transmuting instead into elevating pedestals for our sight. Hope breathes a soul into our perseverance, and it is precisely this relentless perseverance that breathes life into our hopes. Envision a solitary vessel adrift upon a colossal, pitch-black ocean. The invisible thread that binds the mariner to the oars is not the visible sight of the shore, but an ironclad conviction that the sanctuary still exists beyond the horizon. The luminescence of a distant lighthouse may flicker like a minuscule speck across the roaring expanse, yet so long as that solitary ember remains awake, the voyager possesses a profound reason to fight the tide. Hope within the human psyche is the very mirror of that towering beacon. It does not calm the ferocious swells, but it anchors us against losing our compass amidst the chaotic currents of fate. Furthermore, hope harbors a visceral power to revolutionize human behavior. When armed with belief in the horizons ahead, we instinctively plunge deeper into wisdom, unleash a more feral tenacity, and extend grace toward our ephemeral defeats. These microscopic tectonic shifts in cognition organically amass, culminating in monumental leaps in our reality. The uninitiated onlooker might brand this as sheer luck or sorcery, but in truth, this magic is woven from an unbroken chain of triumphant choices and silent, unrelenting agonies. Hope does not directly warp the objective fabric of reality, but it transfigures the architect of action, and it is the human spirit itself that ultimately rebuilds the world. For this profound reason, I implore you, never trivialize a spark of hope kindling within your chest. Baptize it daily with ferocious belief, visceral action, and unyielding resolve. There will come hours when the grim reality forces you to question your own might, moments when every door seems to violently slam shut in unison. But so long as that ember of hope refuses to die, you forever retain the sovereign quill to author the next chapter of your epic. The cosmos makes no guarantees of smooth sailing for our grandest visions, but it forever hoards its highest bounties for the fiercely loyal who clutch their faith to the very bitter end. And then, standing atop the summit, gazing down upon the brutal odyssey conquered, you will crack a smile, realizing that magic is, in essence, the pure crystallization of a heart that adamantly refused to surrender tomorrow. Hope is important because it can make the present moment less difficult to bear. If we believe that tomorrow will be better, we can bear a hardship today. Thich Nhat Hanh, the enigmatic force that propels humanity through the bleakest of labyrinthine turns, is not an anesthesia against agony, but a profound revelation that the reigning darkness is not eternal. Hope does not alleviate the crushing weight of the ordeal, but it bequeaths a sublime justification to never halt the march. As long as the spirit remains oriented toward the dawn, the legs will summon the endurance to trample through the thorns of a harsh reality. There will descend eras when existence is smothered in shades of desolation, when grand designs shatter, relentless toil vanishes into the abyss, and lifelong ambitions seem to slip through our desperate grasp. In those profoundly fragile hours, it is perilously easy to be dragged into the vortex of utter despair. The mind naturally gravitates toward catastrophizing the present agonies, mutating transient trials into impenetrable fortresses of doom. Yet, hope introduces a radically divergent lens. It serves as a haunting reminder that our plight is merely ephemeral, and the sovereignty to command the tides rests forever in our palms. That gentle, whispering faith becomes the solitary lifeline, preventing the soul from drowning under a suffocating pressure. Picture a treacherous ascent up a mountainous spine, shrouded in an impenetrable pall of fog. The wanderer cannot glimpse the looming summit, nor calculate how many jagged ridges remain to be conquered. Were they to fixate solely upon the brutal crags beneath their boots, exhaustion would swiftly erode their fierce will. But if, deep within their marrow, they inherently know that beyond the misty veil lies a blazing, glorious sun awaiting their arrival, every agonizing step instantaneously acquires profound meaning. That unseen light does not shorten the savage climb, but it injects a phantom vitality into their veins to forge ahead. Hope in this mortal coil is akin to that concealed sun behind the fog, though we cannot yet touch its warmth. Our sheer conviction of its existence is the very fulcrum that defies surrender. The unparalleled majesty of hope is its power to completely transmute our posture in the face of ruin. Confronting the exact same cataclysm, the bearer of hope perceives a crucible engineered for their evolution, whereas the shattered soul, devoid of faith, sees only a merciless, apocalyptic end. It is not the external siege that dictates our fortitude, but rather the inner kaleidoscope that sculpts our true reality. When the heart fiercely guards its pact with tomorrow, one dances with existence, using a profound composure, stoic patience, and towering bravery. It is precisely these majestic virtues that summon new realms of opportunity, spectacles that bitter pessimism habitually blinds us from. Cradle your hope with fierce devotion, even if it feels as fragile as a solitary sliver of light. A microscopic spark possesses the fury to thaw a frozen void, just as a silent creed can hoist up a violently exhausted spirit. The universe makes no vows of a serene passage, yet it hoards breathtaking treasures for the stoic who wades through the tempests. Defend the fire of hope blazing in your chest, for it alone will illuminate your primal will, command your resilience, and guide you through the most apocalyptic of storms. And eventually, a dawn will break when you realize that your ultimate triumph was not born because the world grew softer, but because your unyielding hope forged you into something utterly unbreakable. Turn your wounds into wisdom and your difficulties into strength. Oprah Winfrey. The mortal odyssey is rarely spared the brutal branding of trauma. Every single one of us is doomed, at some juncture, to stand face to face with ruin, the fracturing of sacred bonds, or the ambush of unannounced grief. Yet, the paramount measure of a human soul is never dictated by the sheer arithmetic of their defeats, but by the magnificent alchemy they use to transfigure their wounds. There are those who permit their agony to forge iron chains, imprisoning them within the haunted castles of their past. But there are also titans who choose to spin their scars into the very silk of profound wisdom, granting them the grace to view existence with boundless mercy, to live with staggering depth, and to love with a fierce, seasoned maturity. Epoch-making revelations rarely emerge during eras of placid tranquility, but are forged in the very pits where we believe we have scraped the rock bottom of despair. Success may cultivate confidence, but failure is the austere master that drills into us profound, shattering humility. Devastating loss violently awakens a fierce reverence for the fleeting treasures we hold. Betrayal and disappointment become the brutal lenses that grant us absolute clarity regarding genuine loyalty. Every agonizing ordeal, if embraced with a warrior's grace, morphs into an incalculable grimoire of knowledge that no mortal academy could ever hope to articulate. Picture a blade of steel dragged from the roaring inferno of a forge. It does not achieve its razor-sharp, adamantine perfection through gentle caresses, but by enduring apocalyptic temperatures and the merciless, shattering blows of the blacksmith's hammer. It is precisely that relentless, crushing percussion that incinerates the impurities, sculpting a terrifying and resilient fortitude. We are no different. Tribulations materialize not to annihilate us, but to brutally sharpen the majestic virtues that a stagnant, serene existence could never hope to unearth. Indomitable resolve, stoic endurance, and an absolute mastery of adaptation are all birthed in the bloody trenches of conquering adversity. Tragically, the masses remain hypnotized by the sheer spectacle of their agony, utterly blind to the clandestine revelations masked beneath. They squander the prime of their fleeting youth, hurling curses at the fates, inadvertently granting their wounds a morbid immortality. Conversely, when we elect to offer amnesty to our past, dissecting our tragic missteps to extract their latent power, the pain organically recedes into the shadows, abdicating the throne to a majestic evolution. Authentic, towering wisdom is never born of a pristine, unblemished life, but springs solely from the sovereign power to weaponize our blunders into profound, earth-shattering sagacity. Hardships are akin to the fierce countergales that violently assault a kite in flight. Through the eyes of a mortal, a headwind is a barricade, but through a grander lens, that very resistance is the divine engine that thrusts the kite into godlike altitudes. In the theater of life, adversity invariably acts as an invisible, colossal lever, violently propelling us to breach the perimeters of the great unknown. Every conquered trial bequeaths to us a radically expanded vision, a fiercely valiant spirit, and an imperviously fortified heart. That is the exact reason why colossal titans of character are perpetually forged within the crucible of chaotic tempests, rarely ever molded in the shallow pools of tranquility. Therefore, do not cower before the savage scars etched upon your soul's journey. Learn to decipher the cryptic anthems they sing. Do not curse the treacherous, labyrinthine paths, for they may very well be the cosmic clay the universe is utilizing to sculpt an infinitely more formidable iteration of you. The moment you master the alchemy of turning trauma into wisdom, you cast off the suffocating chains of sorrow and regret. When you learn to forge power from agony, you welcome the impending dawn with a spirit of absolute sovereignty and serene majesty. And one day, casting a backward glance upon the battlefield, you will realize that the torrential tears spilt in your yesterdays were the very waters that nurtured the profound, indomitable spirit you embody today.